Hello. What is up? This is Wendy Fortino. I'm here on WOLFpak Live, and I am so excited because we have an extremely special guest today on our live show. We have Sepe here, who is a international fitness phenom. He is a pioneer of the fitness industry. Just let me brag about you for a second, okay?
I get uneasy.
He's written 8 books. He has been on the cover of, I have no idea how many magazines because I could not keep track. It's that many. And he is, I think, probably the only person that I can think of off the top of my head who has so gracefully and successfully migrated from the magazine era into the digital space so beautifully. And I personally just want to know all about it, how he did it and what, the past was like. And so welcome, Frank. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Wendy. I appreciate it. I get uneasy whenever anybody says good things about me. Max Charles, who's like a great bodybuilder, he's like, he's trying to tell me something nice. And I'm like, all right, he's like, I'm trying to give you a compliment. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't like it. But thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, I get it, but I'm still going to do it. You know what I mean? Because credit where credit is due. Okay. You know what I think? I think it would be really fun to just start this whole thing like right out of the gate with a really fun clip of you. And then we're going to get the show on the road. Okay. Something I found that I think you might enjoy. Let's take a look.
Well, coming out here, I know that I'm a true East Coast boy now. I've never seen so many weirdos in my life in Venice because there's so many, especially doing a photo shoot, there's so many people coming and interrupting your workout. So I just want to get home and get back to the basics and at the gym. I want to pay 100% attention to the hot girl. I didn't know she was looking at me, otherwise I would have given it a
I was working my feminine one in the back there. So just like,
intense eyelash. Well, thank you very much.
This is gold. Like, this is gold. All right.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You know where that's from? American Muscle Magazine. For those who don't know what that is, it was on ESPN.
Yeah.
American Muscle Magazine. And let me tell you, I got a ton of exposure for that. And I didn't even compete yet. And I was on that.
Really?
Show. No, I was a model. And I was like, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. And they're like, really? Yeah. And they were like, oh, you got to do, this guy Lou Zwick, he's like, oh, you do American Muscle Magazine. So we did a profile and it was successful. And I got a contract, a supplement contract after my first show. I won the NPC Eastern USA as a heavyweight. I was 21.
Yeah.
The next, after I got a contract from Metrics, like nobody was getting, like only the big time guys. And I was with Metrics for 20 years after that.
Okay, this brings up a really awesome segue into something really interesting that I want to talk to you about, which is you were the product of that bottleneck era, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I say that bottleneck era because you were in the right place at the right time. The right people saw you. You obviously have a crazy amount of charisma, great looking. I mean, you had it all and you were in the right place at the right time and you got picked up and swooped up and then on the cover of all these magazines, right? Not everybody had that opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, now we're in a totally different place now where everybody can expose themselves. So tell me about that. I mean, tell me about what that was like.
So I was offered
knowing that you're a chosen one.
Yeah, well, I did the first show, the NPC Eastern USA as a bodybuilder. Always loved bodybuilding. Started when I was 12 years old. My dad was a narcotics detective, and I went in the basement. We lived in Queens and in Rosedale, New York. I had a bench that he used from the 60s. you know, like it was a small little bench. And then
Yeah.
for Christmas, I got my first bench from Lou Ferrigno. I had a
No way.
incline bench. So I would go in the basement for 2-3 hours every day. I'd have Flex, Muscle and Fitness. They were my Bibles, Muscle Mag. Loved Arnold, you know, like that was
Yeah.
my thing. So I was really skinny but tall. I'm 6'2". So
Yeah.
I was 6'2", like 180, like 6'2",
One.
6'2", 225 at 17.
Oh, wow.
So like Groundhog, Wendy, I'd come out every summer, like, you know, and they'd be like, holy shit, wow, look at this guy. Like, what happened to him? Because all I did was lift weights
Yeah.
in my basement.
Yeah.
Stay out of trouble.
You're just like hiding in your basement, like getting all buff, and
Yeah,
you
it's
come
like,
out. You're like, hey.
is Frank going to show his head out, like poke his head out? So
Yeah.
I did some modeling, and I went to a bodybuilding show in New Jersey, and I was like, wow, you know, I've been working my whole bodybuilding. I'm like, I guess I got to get ripped now. How do we do this?
Yeah.
So, you know, found this guy, Tony Pandolfo, who's a Masters Nationals champion. He trained with Arnold and Dennis Tenorino. He was over 50, over 60 Masters. And he basically, you know, led the way for the first show. Got a lot of attention from that show because, like, you know, you 6'2", 240 pounds in my first show. I was 21 years old.
Good look.
But as a bodybuilder, I was in that show. I was a mid, like there were great bodybuilders surrounding me from Jersey, from New York. Like it was the day, you know, so there was crazy guys. But when I went out on what they call a go-see, and a go-see, and I'll never forget this, for Joan Rivers' TV show. And it was myself, pro bodybuilders who I won't mention, who were complete assholes to me.
Because they're like, he's not one of us.
Exactly. Went in, I booked a commercial, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. So I booked a commercial. They're like, oh, and you know, they were calling me a bodybuilder. So I was like, you know what? I want to pursue this. I want to be the biggest bodybuilder in the world. I want to be as big as I possibly can.
Yeah.
I souped it up, went into the Mets, won that show.
Yeah.
Then Metrics came to me, gave me a contract. So they gave me a contract, and yeah, there's a picture right there, the bodybuilding shot.
Wow.
So yeah, so I did won that show, but Lou Zwick from ESPN, American Muscle, he's like, you know who you are? He's like, we're going to give you a nickname. I go, what? He goes, GQ bodybuilder. And that was from that shoot. So I started getting all this, you know, press. I went to Venice at 22 and Monica Brandt, and I did a photo shoot. Yeah. And then I did a photo shoot with Marla Duncan and Monica Brandt. Yeah. I did like 11 photo shoots in 20 days. And I came home. I had no money.
Are you serious?
I had no money because you know, you're not getting paid for these things. It's like back in the day.
Opportunities.
And I worked in a gym. I went to college to get a criminal justice degree. I was going to be a police officer and then a lawyer. And then 3 months later, which magazines? I'm on the cover. That's the cover. I'm on the cover of Muscle Mag. And
this was your first cover, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, how hysterical they shot my head. I'm like, I was killing my legs like every day.
They shot your face because you had a good face. That was you had a GQ face. You're like, I'm working on this, guys. I'm working on this.
They never did Photoshop back then. So you could see the pimple on the head right there. Like there's a little pimple.
Oh, no. Okay,
so people they never photoshopped it.
You know what's interesting really fast is you were kind of like the modern day influencer, but the big difference there, because right now there is kind of I wouldn't say there's contention, but like people who dedicate their body to being champion bodybuilders often get overtaken by the influencers who have a bunch of followers, right? Yeah. When it comes to opportunities and supplement contracts and whatnot. But the difference is you were not enhancing or photoshopping your images. It was like you were who you were. That's what it was, right?
Yeah, you couldn't do it. I mean, we didn't have that filters. I think they were in the infancy of Photoshop. But Yeah, I mean, fast forward, I did that show. I won the Mets at 250. Then I'm like, have all this exposure and all these magazines, and I'm on the cover of an encyclopedia of bodybuilding now. Oh,
Yeah.
Dorian Yates won 6 Olympias, and he's a small shot. I'm like, what's going on? You know,
Wow.
like, so I'm like, now I got to do a national show. So I went into
Yeah.
North American. I was 23. I weighed 270, 267. It's
Wow.
huge. Everybody in the guys that won the junior nationals, I think it was 28 guys in my class, and I placed 5th. I was like, holy cow. I was like, wow, I was excited. But during prejudging, I took diuretics, and my abs started popping up and back and up, and I was like pushing them back in. And I was like, I don't know, it affected me more than it affected some other people. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And I was training with Dorian Yates at the time at Bev Francis gym when he came in for the Olympia.
No
Bev
way.
Francis gym. Every 3 weeks he'd come in before the Olympia, and I would train with Steve Weinberger and Dorian Yates. And I'm looking at Dorian Yates, and I'm like, is that what I got to do? I got to be that big? I was like, maybe I should go right instead of left. And I went that way. And every time I did a cover, I asked for a column. You know, wrote a column. I wrote over 100 and something columns for Muscle Mag, wrote articles for Cosmopolitan, all these magazines. And then I came up with a book concept. But I mean, I did a ton of media back then too. They had hard copy, Channel 9, Channel 11, Good Morning America. Like, you know, whenever they needed a source, and I had metrics contract, and you know, I'll let you answer the next question, but there's so many things. But it led to a lot of other things in the industry. I was editor-in-chief of, I think, like 9 different publications, including custom publications from Nature's Bounty, infomercials. I owned parts of infomercials. I owned Brand on Home Shopping Network. So I did marketing director for Metrics. I did a lot of stuff, but I always I was a judge for 17 years for IFBB Pro League. So before I was president of NPC News Online, and I was director of media for them for 9 years. I was a judge in that time as well. So I always had I always kept one foot in bodybuilding, no matter what I was doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I do have a lot of questions there, but I will say that I think it's so cool, and this is probably one of the reasons why they wanted you specifically, is because you were like a one-stop shop. I mean, you were able to be the model, the creator. I mean, you literally did it all. And so it was kind of like how things are done now, but with a different platform and different resources available. You know what I mean?
You got to take advantage of your opportunities. So when I worked with Metrics and they had the custom publication, they were doing like 4.6 million. And I was editor-in-chief of the Metrics magazine, but we also did Health Smart Today, Health Watchers, huge brand. So I would meet all these celebrities and all these different people, athletes. And I remember I was in charge of the budget because it was through my company. And I'm like, man, we're getting killed with all this photography shit. I'm like, wow, we're spending a fortune for each publication. So I rented a space in Manhattan, and I'm watching. There's two big things that you rent out for photographers. And they had like Chocolatier magazine, and then Mike Ruiz came in. Mike Ruiz was getting like ridiculous amounts of money to be a photographer, and he shot the cover of my first book because we became friends. But you're talking $50,000 to $100,000 a shoot, and I watched his lighting.
Yeah, things changed.
Yeah, I watched his lighting, and I'm like, ooh, interesting, you know, like. And then I kept watching and all the shoots. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna shoot all this stuff. They're like, you're gonna shoot this stuff? I'm like, watch.
Yeah.
Got a camera, started shooting. I wound up shooting, I think, like 15 different magazine covers. I started working for the UFC. I shot like UFC fighters. I shot Vibe magazine. I shot covers. I shot campaigns. I did one for Ed Hart, like Smet, Ed Hart, like all this cool stuff. Yeah. So, and then I shot
cool.
I shot a calendar with Nicole Wilkins, who's a figure Olympia, and Nicole Negrani, who's a bikini Olympia.
Yeah.
I shot Phil Heath, multiple ads with Phil Heath. all these guys, like, you know, so I wound up
So you found a way to really save the budget and the bottom line.
make
Brilliant.
money. Yeah, make money,
Put
extra
money in
money.
my pocket. I'm the one doing the work. Put the money in my pocket, not spend a fortune on these photographers. Yeah.
You shut this calendar. They're like, how's 20,000 sound? You're like, all right. You know, like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you have, when an opportunity is presented to
Yes.
you have to be ready to do it. And that's
I
how I
love
did
that.
the infomercial too with them. I own
Yes.
part of that. That was incredible. The Metrics 180, because
Yes.
I owned the percent of that. But I almost killed myself because we did 11, you know, 14 workouts, 11 DVDs. We shot for like 2 weeks in San Diego. It was like a big production.
Yeah.
Like, it took a lot. And that's why I stopped training people after that ended.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
I
you
was
have time.
so burnt out. Like,
Yeah.
we were on 150 TV channels a week, and I designed the whole program. It was phenomenal. And then, like,
Wow.
I was like, where do you go from here? And people always ask me, how come you're not doing online training or this or that? And I'm like, you know, I'm going to do it soon, because it's like throwing money away. Even Juan Morel, he's my training partner, my cookie dealer.
Yeah.
He's going back. We're doing a partnership with that soon. So
Okay.
it's like throwing
With
money.
what time, I don't know, but you'll figure it
Yeah.
But you had said something in an interview one time, and you were saying that, you know, sometimes you could sit in front of a computer with all the time in the world, with dedicated mental space to work on something. But when you're always on the go, ideas are probably always coming to you. You know, when you're out and about, like, if your mind and your eyes are open and you see opportunity everywhere, that's when the mind is flowing. That's when you're thinking of things. So that's probably when you're the most productive and getting the most done. I mean, I could see, because this is me too, I'll be out at an event and I just keep thinking of things, get back to my hotel, and I just like start like just taking notes, writing down, like, what can we do from here? And that I could totally see that.
You know, you would think, because of the change in the print, you know, era to the digital era has, you know, I guess shut down a lot of opportunities for people, but there's a ton of opportunity out there if you could, you know, you have to look for it too. You're not going to sit in your house, and you got to be active. You have to be nice too, and you're charismatic or whatever, and you have to back up whatever you think. If you think you're going to help somebody, you got to give them a reason why quickly. People don't have attention spans anymore. You know, it's just like, I just got this for 9 months. I've been asked to work with a company called Clean Boss. And I'm like, oh, who, you know, join me. I had my own brand on Home Shopping Network.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like, it was awesome. I had a Frank Sepe fitness disc. I remember on a Today's Special, I sold 87,000 at like $70 in that day. And when I went on, the IBF or IFB, whatever, fell out of my ear, and the female host tripped. So I was there myself, and I sold out. And they're like, how'd you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just sold out.
Like a black cat or something. Jeez.
But you never stop talking. But yes. So Joy Mangano, who they did the movie Joy, with Robert De Niro and Bradley Cooper, and she's Home Shopping, the Miracle Mop. I worked with her, and we've been friends ever since. So she presented an opportunity to me recently, and I just signed a contract to do sales and be partners, like equity partners, in doing this Clean Boss, who's co-owned by Pitbull. So Pitbull and Joy are involved in this business. So I'm looking forward to that. It's like, you know, it all works together. It's a botanical.
Yeah, it does. It does. I would say, when do you sleep?
No, you have to, like, you know, you have to realize people look at bodybuilding as just this small thing, but you have to look at fitness, which transcends to mass market. And, you know, bodybuilding has always been a microcosm for mass market, so you have to look at that and go, okay, you know, just because you know something is embedded in your head, like, you know how to get shredded. You look phenomenal at the Olympia, Wendy. You look great. So, but you know, they don't know.
Right. Right. Well, that brings up a good point, which is like if all you have is a hammer, everything is going to look like a nail. And for you, the interesting thing about you is you're kind of a double threat because, opportunities could have closed for you and someone like you because you were the chosen one in the bottleneck. And there are other chosen ones who have had a hard time transitioning into this period, right? But for you have history and you understand how things were, and you were hustling back when things were in a different era. Sounds like differently though than a lot of other people, because for you were writing the columns, you were like involved really with the magazine in ways that other models probably weren't. So you already were kind of getting practice into the transitional era. But then now you're a double threat because you have embraced the new era, and some people haven't. You know what I mean?
No.
I'm not going to lie. Like I've talked to people who were on the cover of a lot of magazines, and they haven't quite, transitioned into the new place, and that's a hard position to be in because they don't know any different. You know what I mean?
It's tough, man. Have you ever watched the movie The Wrestler? With Mickey Rourke. He's like a one trick pony in the movie.
Yeah.
Lee
is our guest later. Hey Lee, what's up?
Hey Lee.
I don't know if that is Lee. The account has a long title. Maybe if Lee, if it's you, please stand up. Please stand up.
Well, tomorrow I'm having sushi with Lee's friend Jimmy the Bull Pelleccia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was my friend for like 20 years at Metrics. He's a good guy. But yeah, man, a lot of people they don't know what to do. It's like, when you get older, it's like, I can't do this anymore. Why? You and I both know that, if you're not 19, 20 years old, and it doesn't matter, you get better as you get older. A lot of people use this excuse and throw the towel in, and they're like, oh, I'm 20, I'm going to be 30. I can't match. I looked at 21. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I think, just, yeah. So we're going to Jimmy the Bull's favorite sushi place. And why is it Jimmy the Bull's favorite sushi place? Because they have a picture on the wall where he's bench pressing 1,000 pounds.
That would be mine too. Yes, that would be mine too. Okay, so another interesting point about, I know they're all funny. I've talked to some of Lee and Dave Palumbo, and they make me laugh, all of them.
I could fill 10 shows with Jimmy the Bull stories.
You what?
I could fill 1 million shows with Jimmy the Bull stories, but
maybe we should. That'll be our next one. You're coming back. That'll be our next one. Okay.
All right.
You and Lee together and Jimmy the Bull together. Oh, that's a good idea. The three of you. All right. Okay. So back to the magazine era, you being director at NPC News Online, doing interviews. I did find an interesting clip of you and Michael Hearn talking about something with the new generation. So I just watch that really fast and get your thoughts.
When we got into the sport, there was no men's physique. And I always wanted to know your opinion on the men's physique division, and as opposed to bodybuilding, just your general thoughts.
I thought you were going to say there was no Photoshop. Because it wasn't. When we did our first covers, real quick, when we did our first covers, there was no Photoshop.
No.
Also, you and I shot both off-season and on-season.
Right.
So it was more, and I'm trying to say this because I want you guys to do this, it's more about the person, and it's not just the cover, it's a cover story about the person that's behind the training, not just good bodies. Is there a ton of good bodies in this industry?
Absolutely, yep.
Tons. It's the personality that makes it different, and that's why the guys get the covers.
A lot of them have the charisma of this cup. That's the problem.
Yes.
The thing is, what annoys me is when they called us fitness models.
What is
when
a
we
fitness
were
model?
250, 260 pounds.
What are you talking about? We were 275, 280.
But we're fitness models, and when people are you're the original men's physique guy. I'm like, no, I'm not. I was 260
My thighs
pounds.
are 31 inches.
We could watch some more of that, but
yeah, he's
but what
right.
are your thoughts on that?
100% right. Look.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand. They see these covers and they don't understand how big Mike and I were, because we're both over 6'2", 6'2". Like you said, we shot all year round. The first time I ever walked into Gold's Venice, he reminded me, he's like, you were deadlifting 635 for reps with no belt or straps, and he was bench pressing like whatever crazy amount of weight or whatever. Like, we love to train. But Bob Kennedy, who owned Muscle Mag at the time, I said, how come? I said to him, like, why do you keep using me for the magazine? And people are like, oh, because he's your friend. I'm like, it's a business. They're not going to put you on the cover because you're a friend. They're like, you know, he said, because you sell magazines. I said, oh, well, makes sense. He goes, but what Mike said, Bob used to say about all the models, the girls, the guys, he's like, you have to have some sort of sparkle. He's like, you can't be dead faced. He's like, you have the sparkle and you have to have the charisma and you have to have a personality. And that's why a lot of people don't make it. They're like, why not me? You know, I remember I was on the cover of 6 magazines at one time on a newsstand, and I was at Bev's. I was at Bev Francis Gym, and a woman came up to me. She said, hey, can I ask you a question about abs? And I said, sure, you know, talking about abs. And this guy was walking around, and he had like a stamp picture in Flex, and he was a complete jerk. You know what I mean? Like, people don't forget that either. And I know when I hire people and I do stuff, I don't do that. You know, I hire people because they're easy to work with too. Right. When we had the magazines, I use people. Maybe they had a 6-pack, they didn't have the 8-pack, you know, whatever it may be, but they were easy to work with. So, I mean, that goes a long way. Mike's right. And look at how Mike acts with his fans and how he is. I mean, you can't fake that.
No, you can't. I don't want to leave that conversation. I just have to point something out really fast. Just a little mini tangent really quick, if you don't mind. I do think it's really funny. I mean, we have different approaches now to catching people's attention, right? But one consistent thing, one approach that has continued to be the case is really catchy titles, clickbait titles, right? Now with YouTube, it's all about clickbait titles. Well, magazines were very much known for those clickbait things. And I just laugh sometimes when I see some of the words that are put on the cover of these magazines.
Get hard, never bench again. It's awesome. But bodybuilding, what are they yelling at on the stage? You're like, stay hard, flex your legs. Like, to us, like I said, that's normal. So whoever wrote that was a bodybuilding person, had no
funny. Like, I don't know. Well, but there are some covers that are questionable. They said some interesting things like finally the pill that works and yada yada yada. And I'm like, oh my God, it was cracking me up. I was looking at some of the magazine covers and I'm like, there was clickbait titles has always been a thing.
Oh, totally. They're like, you know, I remember one was like, there was a cool picture, like, increase your sex life. Like, it was all crazy. So but you know what? They have to make money too. So,
that was the clickbait era, right? I mean, we continue on in clickbait. I mean, have you gone to YouTube lately and just like scrolled through random videos just to see what kind of crazy clickbait titles people think of?
Look at this one. I got this one here. Right?
Oh goodness.
So it says, have more sex.
That was it. That was
And
so
then
funny.
Beer soaked recipes.
But you know what?
I don't know.
They were onto something. It sold the magazine.
Yeah, but it's funny when you own a media company and you play by a different set of rules than everybody else, and it really hurts the company because you know, like I'll post. I remember reposting John Cena at the Oscars. He looked good, right? And he was naked, but he had the mic. Had 12,000 shares. We put it up, and they're like, "No, can't put this up. Community guidelines." Like, there's so many rules to what we do. So, like, what works on traditional social media, businesses aren't playing on the same field as they are, because you're like, wait, this person's doing this and we can't do this. I remember we put up a picture of Laura Lee Shabatos, you know, getting congratulated, whatever, flagged on, especially Muscle and Fitness. Hers we get flagged all the time for things against community that would, you know, any sort of wellness shots to the front and the back, which is normal for us. But
Yeah.
again, they're not in our industry. So it's like for us to put up something like some clickbait or do things, we're not playing on an even play. It's very hard, playing field. But yeah,
That is true.
that's how things have changed dramatically in what we do. And when we used to have magazines, they came out 3 months in advance. So all of these 3 months later, so all of these companies had books and training manuals and stuff that they would sell, from the athletes. And Jeff Everson was a master of that. Corey Everson's husband, he's had a ton of business through that. And like now it's where we were the people who people looked at and were like, those are the people I'm going to go to. Those are the experts. Now it's an 18-year-old kid on TikTok,
Yeah, we've had photos taken down for promoting an unrealistic physical ideal, like just a contest photo, and then it gets flagged, like you said, and taken down. And for us, it's totally part of our industry. But yeah, that's not even playing field.
No, I mean, they're doing road rage videos where people are getting, beat up and shot and everything else on some of these platforms. And God forbid we put up somebody in a bikini. Oh my God, what's going on? They should be celebrated, not taken down. You know how much hard work goes into these competitions. It's like, come on, what are we doing? But you can't. There's no one even call to complain. To complain.
I know. There's no recourse. There's literally no recourse. No, I know. Seriously. All right, I want to show you another clip, and this is the interview you and Michael Hearn and Phil Heath were all having together. I know you guys are funny. You guys have a great dynamic, by the way. Don't stop that, because that was amazing. But I want you to hear your words, and I want to hear your thoughts about your words. How about that?
Head out. Sometimes I lost. There's different things of guys that are in the trenches and doing it and stepping on stage, standing next to another guy that's complete, and win, lose, or draw. At least you're in the battle. And there was a respect, a blood respect of sweat and tears and doing it. Is that's what's missing for a lot of Instagrammers? Because a lot of Instagrammers don't have to compete. All they have to do is look good by themselves and go post.
Well, you know what? Back in the day, you'd go backstage, and that's the first time you're seeing who you're competing against. You don't know who you're competing against. Now everybody's on social media and like, oh, I can beat that guy, when they're, pulling up the sharpness, going on the lighting, changing the lighting, making themselves look good. But to be honest, let's call it the way it is. This generation, the majority of it that I've seen are self-entitled and delusional.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, I just went to a franchise gym and I have time to go to Bev's, and I'm watching this guy, and he's like, he's got the lats out, he's got no legs, and he's like, giving people dirty looks, and he's posing, and he's like saying, oh, they're looking at social, and I could beat this guy. No, you can't. If you want a reality check, go to Bev's and go stand next to Sadiq. And then tell me that you're going to be a men's physique champion. You can't be. I don't know. I don't. I think there's a complete lack of respect for people's accomplishments, and for people to say, "Oh, I could do that, or I could beat that." Then prove it. Prove it. Words are just words. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I have respect for anybody that steps on that stage, because they are going to be judged harshly, not only by media, by people who are trolls on social media. And you have to realize, even the best bodybuilders in the entire world, are criticized, because if you have your Hadi Chopin fans, you have your Derek Luntz fans, you have your Samson Dowda fans, you have, fans they're fans for a reason. So they're going to go after the other people that they don't like. So be prepared. You have to have a thick skin. So for someone to say, oh, I could beat them, or this or that, even if their physique is somewhat near, let's see how they react when they step on stage, how their cortisol levels are and everything else. It's like, So I always, when I was with, you know, I go to any shows, or when I was going to shows for NPC or whatever it may be, I was always nice to people, always respectful, and I did call out people who weren't, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well,
know, like,
it. I think, just to touch on when you said delusion, I think that that word is actually more profound than it seems when you just say it, because delusion, there are many layers to that word. Number one, it's hard to explain to somebody how to appreciate and understand the process when the process is so fast paced these days. And
mhm.
it's so easy to get that fast gratification. We're in an attention economy right now with very fast gratification, and it's so easy for somebody to put like graininess on their photo and make their muscles look
Oh yeah.
more crazy, and then get that instant gratification from all these people that come out of the woodwork and say, oh my God, you could beat Phil Heath if you went on stage. Like, it's so, it's so much easier for people to be in the delusional area. That's
Yeah.
kind of just, that's a product of our current generation and environment, that it's hard to even think about how that could even be fixed.
You see it go down too. It's funny. Like, you
Yeah.
know, they put their arm out in front, they step a foot in front of the camera.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm bigger than Jay Cutler. I'm bigger than
Yeah,
this
yeah,
person. Like, look, when
Yeah.
we're talking about delusion, with bodies, I I am very straightforward. Like, I had an Olympia competitor come up to me. He's like, I'm the best I've ever been. I'm like, dude, he's like, take a look at me. And I'm like, we go, what do you think? I'm like, 16th. He goes, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm like, 16th, missing this.
For those who don't know, 16th is last, tie for last.
Everybody's 16th. Everybody's 16th.
16th is the tie for last. Even if there's 50 people, you're 16th.
Anyway. If you ask me if your shirt is red or blue, and I say it's red, why? You're asking me a question, so I'm not being a jerk. I'm being honest. Like, there was one time I went backstage at the Olympia. It's the only time for men's physique, and I was like, that guy won. Because you have to see people next to each other too. You have to see basically everyone standing next to one. Brandon Hendrickson. I was like, he won. I'm like, very simple to see. And it's also now, it is so it's so close now in all these contests, which makes it really exciting. Like, every, there's a different outcome, where it was a dynasty, for the Olympia for a long time for people. Now it's like, wow, who's gonna win? I don't know. You have to see him do every single mandatory. Right? Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like I have a really good eye too when I see it in front of me. But I won't mention any names, but there have been, because when I do recaps and previews on Olympia TV of these athletes, it's really difficult when you're going off of photos on Instagram, because people will post their update photos, and God knows what kind of like Photoshop app they're using to like make their waist look smaller in the video and like enhance things. I literally sometimes can't even tell. So I try to reconcile that with what they've looked like on stage before, and the fact that we're having to do that, like that we're having to go so above and beyond to try to really nail down our predictions, because it's so difficult sometimes reconciling what someone's posting with what and what's on NPC News Online, for example.
Totally. And like, like a 16-year-old kid that's in great shape, maybe he's playing high school sports or something, and he looks on social media and he sees this like, filter of, somebody, and he's like, oh, I'm never going to be like that. And in person, they're comparable, like it's just so stupid. But like there's a guy, I don't know, I forgot his name, but he calls out people all the time.
Oh yeah, his name is Goob.
Yeah, I like that.
I know.
I like it. I enjoy it.
I think it's great. I've seen his content, and he's good. Like, he's really good. He finds things, and I'm just like, wow, like, how did you find that? That's crazy.
Yeah, but, look, I might change the background because of where I am or whatever, but I won't change my physique. I don't know. You go look through my stuff. I don't think I've ever.
Yeah, no, Frank, no one's accusing you of anything. But iPhone now has this really cool thing where you can actually delete objects in the background. Yeah. It's really cool. You know, like
Which
if
is
you don't
good.
like your like a garbage in the background, you can like delete it. I'm like, whoa, that's kind of a cool feature.
Everybody in the gym.
You could just delete yourself. No. And be like, where's Waldo? Like, find me in the picture. You're like,
I know,
haha,
it's
I
like-
deleted myself on my app.
Well, what are you gonna do with AI now too? So you
You're
go
like,
on
haters will
somebody's-
say it's Photoshop.
Yeah, AI. You've got people who they're not even people now, and people are following them. They create these like amazing profiles, and you think they're real, and it's like that ain't
Yeah.
real. That's AI. You never.
I feel like I can always tell, but I don't
Yeah.
think everybody can. I don't know. Maybe I have a really good eye. I go, gosh, this is so obvious to me, but maybe I just have a really good eye. I don't know.
No, because you're on every day like I am, so you could find you kind of see what's going on. You could tell what's fake and what's not fake. It's like
Wow, I've never seen someone that has no pores before in my life.
Yeah.
That's
It's like
incredible.
Botox only does a certain amount. You still.
I'm like, there's just no pores. It's like I've never seen that before. I've never walked down the street and like pass this person up. This is amazing. Like a phenom of our modern Marvel. No, I know it is a crazy world out there. I don't know how to fix it though. What do we do?
No, just you go with it. Do what you
Talk
can.
about it.
Yeah. Look, it's like social media. You think one thing's going to be a tremendous hit and it's a dud. And then something that, you never knew was going to resonate with an audience is like a hit. And you're like,
Yeah.
how'd that happen? You don't know. It's
Well,
all...
that's interesting because people probably come to you and want to know what the secret formula is. And you just said something really interesting in that you have to be open to the fact that there isn't a secret formula. See, that's the problem, maybe, that people are trying to find the secret formula in how to problem solve to be successful on social media. And that's literally the secret, is to have your mind open to just commit to the fact that there really isn't a solution, and you have to be just ever evolving, ever moving, seeing opportunities as they happen.
I agree. A couple of different things. One, the algorithm is constantly changing, whether it's TikTok store that now Instagram has to combat that, whatever it may be. Second thing is social media is here and gone. Like, especially if you have a business, you're putting 6 to 10 posts up a day. So to spend a fortune on a branded post, they're like, look what I did. Wow, we spent all this money. I got one post. Wait, let me scroll down. Oh, this one you did? It's like thumbs up, big deal, because, and, with sometimes you'll never get the amount what you'll get from a repost, because people want to see these athletes doing their thing in their own space. That's another thing. But everything's not going to be a home run. You're going to hit some singles. You're going to strike out no matter what. I remember we put up like this great bikini video for NPC News Online on social. Like people were twerking and they were dancing. And I'm like, this is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Then
who does not see twerking?
Yeah. We had some guy who's a men's physique competitor at the counter talking about, protein shake. He's just hanging out. 10 times more views. I'm like, how'd that happen? So you got to see what works, but
so a funny thing, I was talking to Evan Centopani, and he
Evan. Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yes, he's super cool. And he posts all kinds of great content, tips, and as well. But his best post, millions of views, was him changing his water filter in his house. I swear to God, he was. It was like, and the people from all over the place, from all like out of the woodwork, were coming to chime in about the water filter situation, and I was just like, it was so crazy, and you never know. It's nuts.
Well, people are insane now. Like I was at the gym, and these two guys came up to me, and they're like, "Oh, would you do a YouTube video?" And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, well, we're going to do a prank where we shoot you with a water gun. And we're going to challenge you to what exercise you do. I'm doing leg extensions. I'm like, so I'm going to give you $10,000 if you beat me or whatever. And I'm like, all right. So I did the 2 videos for YouTube. They have like over 2 million views now. Yeah. So I'm like, but people think it's real. I'm like, it's not real. I mean, like,
it was staged and you got lucky. That's
so
what it is sometimes.
these kids, but they're influenced. But that's what I'm saying. So if the sports show on ESPN, what was it, Fox? What they got like 150,000 views, and it was a success. Now this kid's getting 1 million views by squirting a water gun at you. Like, think about.
Okay. But think about this too. Something that you just made me think of too is he does that. It gets tons of views. And then what does everybody think? Oh my God, squirting a water gun in this way is going to get me a lot of views. And people start kind of, benchmarking off of these things. And that's kind of, you were the pioneer of something that I want to bring up. And this is actually kind of tracing back to one of your books that you wrote. I think this is the book that you wrote in 2004. It was The Truth.
Yeah.
Right. And interestingly enough, this is something that a lot of people do now. Your book had a lot of like debunking myths in the fitness industry, what experts you should believe, what programs you should follow, the truth about cardio, see, nobody was really doing that back then, but your book was a success. Your approach was a success. And now what do people want to do? They want to debunk everything because you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. And back then, like I said, we know this stuff, but mass market, it was a huge hit because people like, oh, wow, really interesting. Like, they didn't know, like, oh, okay. I thought, if you ate a pound of bologna, you'd gain a pound of muscle. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so because they listened to these trainers back then. So, I mean, Mike Ruiz shot that cover too. Yeah. I think he charged me $1,000 at the time. And I was like, done, let's do it, but it's been for sale for 21 years. I'm like, it's so crazy, how
many copies has this one sold?
Oh my God. It was on the bestsellers now. Yeah, it's definitely, but it's a crazy amount. And then, the only fitness book you'll ever need. And then 7 books later.
No, that's great. I mean, it's great, but that just, it really does kind of like shed a light on the greater point of benchmarking. And see, you operate differently because you're not looking for something that somebody's already done. You're looking for something that nobody else has done. And then you do it, and then everybody copies you. And you're kind of on this constant evolutionary path, kind of by need and necessity for you to keep evolving because you're the one coming up with the ideas that everybody is copying, right? So what has that been like? I mean, does it feel like a lot of pressure?
So I have the opportunity to train with a lot of different people, fitness influencers, pros, athletes, whatever. And the majority is great, but then you get this, person, coach, usually a fitness coach of some sort, who thinks that they reinvented the wheel.
Yeah.
And you're like, bro, I have a whole chapter 20 years ago on motivation and everything else. And how to set goals. He's like, well, first you have to do realistic goals. And then like a ladder. I'm like, yeah, page 28. And I'm like, you know what I mean? And then we all joke, like, it's so hysterical the way they talk. They're like, today's a deload day. And, we're going to do we'll just concentrate on NSVs. I'm like, what's an NSV? A non-scale victory. And we're going to do RDLs. I mean, oh, you mean like stiff-legged deadlifts? And we're going to work on hypertrophy. Oh, you're going to do like, I'm like, and we're going to do 50% of 1RM. And I'm like, oh God, man. I'm like, shut up.
This is so, you don't understand. This is like music to my ears. Like, you don't even know. Like, you don't even know. This is great. My gosh. The lingo.
We don't do abs, so we don't do this. The lingo. Yeah, it's just crazy how these people are just, like, what's a new, I don't know what the new word for curl is. What's a new word for curl? Like, like a curl. It's just crazy how they think that they just reinvented everything we've been doing for like decades.
Mm-hmm. I think everybody wants to fit everything into an equation, and that's the mindset that keeps you from evolving too, because you want to try to find the equation that worked and then go by that, and it has to have the lingo, the vocabulary, and all this kind of stuff. I feel like my mind is a lot more like yours, which is, I also love the quote by Napoleon Hill, which is, success requires no explanation, right? Mm-hmm. And if you are showing results, then it really doesn't matter what the process was.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? So who cares what the name of the exercise is? If you feel the connection and it gets you results and you win the show, does anybody care what the name of the exercise was that you did? I mean, no. You know what I mean?
it's like, you know, everything is results oriented. A
Yeah.
business training. If I'm training with you for 3 months and I stopped, my non-scale victory is that I reduced my carbohydrates. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
and I have nothing to show for it. My physique still looks like, you know, like it did when I started. It's a failure. You know what I mean? Like it's results oriented. Like I
Yeah.
don't, you know, like you and I could put a routine together for anybody, put on size, lose size, put on
Mhm.
quads, whatever. But some of these people have a cookie cutter routine for everybody. It's a one-stop shop. You know, they just change
Yeah.
the reps or the rest intervals. You know, like they
Yeah.
don't, it's like, come on, dude. You know, you and I are like, all right, well, you want to build your quads? What do you want to build? A sweep, or you got to work your hamstring glute tie-in? Like they don't even, it doesn't even, you know, they
Yeah.
don't know what the hell we're talking about. It's just funny. But look, you got to check your ego at the door. I learn something new all the time from people that I train with, or things that I forgot, or you know, I like training with different people. So I train with Juan Morel, the cookie dealer, on
Yeah.
Saturdays and Sunday. And if you watch old videos of that guy was a
Yeah.
beast as far as lifting heavy weights and stuff. So
Nice.
well,
Nice.
two ex bodybuilders,
Yeah. Yeah.
big
Yeah.
legs on. But yeah, but you have to also too enjoy somebody's company though when you train
Mhm.
with them, because I don't know, it's easy to get
'Cause
turned off
I
by
don't
the partner,
know.
like bad
Yeah.
breath, you know.
Kind of like have some company.
Mm,
I do believe that it's important to know who you should follow. And that's why I really wanted you here, and I really want to talk to you about this because it is hard. I mean, and I'm gonna kind of not defend isn't the word I'm looking for, but I am gonna kind of be really understanding in that we are in this information overload
yeah.
era right now
Mhm.
also. And if I were brand new, I just imagine myself like getting started right now. Let's say I'm like fresh out of high school. I want to do, you know, something in the fitness industry, maybe compete. I would not know where the hell to even start. Wouldn't know where to go, who to listen to, who has the right information. I think my problem solving skills are pretty good and my instincts are pretty good. So I
Mhm.
want to believe that I would go in a good direction. But honestly, I don't know. There's so much out there. You know what I mean?
It's tough, man. Yeah,
It's
it's
tough.
oof, you're right. Like, where do
Yeah.
you go? Because you're basically getting a like a sales pitch when you go to these
Yeah.
Instagram pictures. Now, if you're 18 years old, you're doing your first show, and you see a 21-year-old kid who's like a beast and everything else, and he's never competed. Like, I don't know what's going through your mind. Like, where do you
Yeah.
go? I would tell people, obviously, to go. Like I just had this conversation at Bev Francis seminar where
Okay.
Jay Cutler and everybody was there, and I was speaking. And like I said, you guys don't know how good you have it. I go, you have the Olympia head judge to walk into his office and ask him to take a look at you and kind of ask him what you need to do. I said, and then take that criticism and use it to get better. I'm like, the
Right.
problem a lot of you have is you can't take criticism, but criticism is how you get better and how you succeed.
Yep.
Now, you would rather listen to somebody who's going to say yes, 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 who's the $200 a month trainer, online trainer, who's got 17 people in your class, who's going to dispute anything the judge says because wants to cover his own self, and you're never going to get any better. So you're going to be an NPC for the rest of your life. I said,
Mhm.
that's pretty much it. So what I would do is if I was to compete, I would look for people who have done it before.
Yeah.
So if I was going in women's physique, if I was going into a class, all right, does any of the top
Yeah.
people in the sport offer? Like if you go to basketball, if you have an opportunity to train with LeBron James, you're going to train with LeBron James, right? Or one
Yeah.
of these people. So
Yeah.
if I want to train with somebody who's been in the Olympia, because that's my goal, I'm going to train with you. If I
Mhm.
want to go here, I'm going to train with this person. That it just makes sense to me. Like if that's my goal, then why am I going to somebody who's never stepped on stage,
Yeah.
you know, and doesn't have the track record? I don't know. I just not saying that you had to be on stage, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying for me, I
Yeah.
want somebody who is there, who you know. But Kim
Oh
Oto's
yeah.
somebody who looked like he's trained so many pros, like that
Yeah.
track record, bombshell. Okay, great. Look at their track record. You know, people like that.
Yeah.
100%. I'm training because I know they're going to guide me, but I'm not going to some, you know, creepy
Yeah.
trainer or something. I don't have referrals. Get a referral from someone
Yeah.
because it could be, like anything online. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. I know I didn't used to like to be somebody who would bash coaches because it has rapidly kind of exponentially gotten crazy in the last, I would say, like 5 years. It was the online coaching industry was kind of popping, I would say, in the 2010s to 2015. It was going up, right? And I never really want to bash coaches because I felt like everybody has their own approach. But I will say that that's kind of changed a little bit now, because now I feel like almost everybody you see on Instagram either has a coach or is a coach. And I don't want to bash coaches because I think there's a lot of great coaches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not everybody is meant to be a coach. We're all meant to do something, but not everybody is meant to be a coach. I will say I love coaching, but it's not. I have a tendency to make very strong emotional connections with people.
Well,
And that's a weakness of mine, and I know that about myself, but we all have our thing that we are meant to do. Like you said, you need somebody that can be really honest with you and not like hold your hand too much. You need somebody that's going to really guide you in the right direction. And it's really not for everybody, to be honest.
No, look, I hear what you're saying. I don't want to bash anybody either, but the thing is, when a lot of these people are photoshopped or AI generated with a program through affiliates, online trade, like, you have to look for referrals. And if everyone has a different approach. I'm sure Kim Odo has a different approach than Chad Nichols, and Chad Nichols has a different approach than George Farah, and George Farah has a different approach, whatever it may be. But just do your research and make sure that, you're not getting scammed, because it's hard enough trying to get ready for a show than having to deal with that the day of, like you're waiting for that last 10-day prep. And then what, my dog just went into the closet. What are you doing? He's running around in here.
No, oh my gosh, Frank, this is such a great conversation. I can't believe we've already been talking for like an hour. This is nuts.
Right.
And
Oh, wow.
But I know we have more to cover. So if I can, I would love to have you back because you're such a great guest, and I have more questions. I want to talk to you more about more things, and I think that we can really iron out some things. We could potentially solve the world's problems in these podcasts. I feel like
save the entire industry. The whole industry.
One podcast at a time. We're changing the world.
It only takes one podcast to rule the world.
No, this is honestly has been so great, but I want you to have the final word. So I want you to, what do you want to share with your fans and your followers and everybody who loves you so much? I'm going to let you have the final word.
Well, first, let me say it was a pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to coming back. And look, there's a lot of things going on. I'm really excited about the Sepe Nutrition protein treats. We're in 14 countries right now. There's a lot of new things coming. So I appreciate you guys, everybody, for following and just watching what I'm doing and keeping me relevant too. So I really appreciate it.
I want to try one of those Sepe nutrition bars. They look amazing, by the way. So at some point, I'm going to make sure I get one of those.
Yeah, I'll send you a box. They're good.
No, that's great. But Frank, again, thank you so much. And to everybody who's watching, thank you for tuning in. And this is going to be up on our YouTube channel. So I'll make sure that you have the link and you can share with your followers.
100%. Yep. I'll definitely do some posts. You can check out Wendy and I, and maybe you get something out of this. Well, at least you'll know where to go to get a good coach.
Totally. Don't go anywhere. I want to say bye to you on the flip side. But everybody out there, we will see you on the flip side.